Like, love, dislike happens at first sight. Maybe this feeling starts from some kind of chemical reaction. I work in a network of hypermarkets in mid-level management. I don't have anyone working under me. My job mainly involves dealing with the external environment, so I don't get involved much in what goes on inside the hypermarket. When I announced my relationship with the saleswoman Tina, I wasn't scared. I didn't show it off, but I didn't hide it either. She's not my subordinate, but everyone already knew. We've been together for a while and are planning a wedding. Not that anyone is really interested, but girls will be girls. Tina told one colleague secretly, then another, and another. So, predictably, the whole female team knows. If it weren't for my fiancée's chatty habits, our relationship might have stayed a secret for a long time. She arrives at work before me and leaves on time. Tina is cute, she has a nice face and figure. Everything was always good between us. We never argued, and we had sex almost every night. Then Keith came along. He got a job as a warehouse worker, handling loading and unloading, and bringing goods to the floor. At first, he seemed like an ordinary guy, regular face, athletic, taller than me, and broader in the shoulders. He was very fond of women. Soon, it became clear that he flirted with almost all the girls and women in the store. And he was quite successful. This was evident because one saleswoman or another would spend more time with him, leave work with him, and then suddenly, everything would end, and all communication between Keith and his latest interest would abruptly stop. It wouldn't have bothered me, and I wouldn't have paid attention if it weren't for the fact that Keith disliked me right away. He got into the habit of teasing me at every chance, with or without reason, over any trivial matter. Clever comebacks only came to mind much later. He might say, upon seeing my polished shoes, that the only physical exercise I do is bending over with a shoe brush. He would mock my musical taste, provoking approving laughter from colleagues. And what did he say? Once, when I was talking on the phone and shifting from foot to foot, he told the saleswomen that if I really needed to go to the toilet and was afraid I wouldn't make it, adult diapers were available in the hygiene department. All the nearby girls giggled, even Tina. Damn it, I'm probably slow-witted. It never occurred to me to respond properly, and thank God I didn't try. Nothing is more ridiculous and pitiful than seriously responding to veiled jokes. I began to avoid crossing paths with him, and if he came my way, I tried to change direction or go around. He seemed to notice. In any case, he started showing up in unexpected places, and his nasty jokes were relentless. Then he found out about my relationship with Tina. I noticed several times how he talked to her when there were no customers, pushing a cart of goods into the hall. He was apparently joking and flirting, and Tina laughed and twirled her curls with her fingers. Just like when we first started talking, Tina, I told her that evening, we need to talk. I told her about Keith's hidden bullying, his reputation as a lover, and how he seemed to be targeting her. I spoke honestly and really hoped for understanding. Tina, I said, I'm asking you to stop all communication with him. You might call me paranoid, but I feel he intends to cause trouble. Just don't think I don't trust you. No, I love and trust you completely. But Keith, do you know he has already seduced several girls from our store? It seems like a sport for him. Baby, what are you doing? My fiancée looked at me sympathetically. I love you, and I will not allow him any liberties. Don't worry about it. You have nothing to fear. She said that, and I should have felt better. But I thought the best thing would be to tell her to stop communicating with him entirely and explain why. The next day, I was walking down the main avenue of the store and saw Tina and Keith. They were standing far from her department. He was saying something to her, and she was giggling. I know a bit of body language, not thoroughly, but I've learned some poses and gestures from marketing books. Her posture was open, the toes of her shoes were invitingly turned up, her shoulders were visibly back, clearly showing off her already large breasts, and she held the wrist of the other hand with one hand, showing him the palm of her hand. There was a decent distance between them, but at that moment, I realized that she was no longer mine. Her posture could be described in one short word, yes. I didn't let it show. I walked on by. I saw them talking 3 more times that day. Each time in different parts of the sales floor but far from her department. There was no overt action, no movement, no hugging, much less kissing, just talking. But each time, her postures expressed clear prior consent. How did I observe them? I just walked into the security room with a premium bag of chips bought from our store. I told the guard I mixed up the flavor, bought a huge bag, and now I didn't know what to do with it. I thought I saw him eating the chips. The guard excitedly confirmed that he really liked chips. I gave him the open packet and casually mentioned that I was preparing a marketing campaign and wanted to observe customer behavior. Gratefully, he allowed me to enter the observation room several times, and I repeatedly entered, pretending to write something down on my smartphone while watching Tina and Keith. It was all a foregone conclusion. No, I tried to talk to Tina again that evening. But the conversation ended almost immediately after she blatantly lied about not talking to Keith today. I didn't know what to say anymore. I could say that I'd seen them, that she'd lied, but what good would it do? The line hadn't been crossed yet, and if I told her everything I knew, it might make her more cunning. There was a small chance she'd still resist, so I kept my mouth shut. I just waited, faintly hoping for that chance. Not that I was spying on Tina, but yeah, I did a little spying. When she left for work an hour earlier than me in the morning, I'd run into the store, go to security, mention in passing the research on customer behavior in the early hours, and watch Tina or Keith on the monitors. I also tried to surround her with special care, attention, and love, and talked a lot about the upcoming wedding, the future. Well, at least I tried. She didn't return home from work on Saturday. When I arrived an hour after her expected time, she was nowhere to be found. All I got was a text message mentioning her plans to hang out with friends late at night. I put two and two together pretty quickly, even though there was no concrete evidence. But then came the evidence. Keith sent me a link to a video stored in his cloud. In the video, he flipped the camera around, grinning mischievously, and aimed it at me as he playfully flicked her nose. She looked up, slightly annoyed but not too bothered, giggling in that way girls do when they're being teased and secretly enjoying it. We'll reminisce about this video later, reliving the good times. I heard him say, "Come on, give me a smoochy smoochy," she said with a smile, forming a V shape with her fingers and mimicking a kissing gesture. Despite her unawareness that her lover would share the video, it seemed like she was directing it towards me. It was the end for us. They were still wrapped up in each other. As embarrassing as it is to admit, I couldn't tear my eyes away from the scene and watched until the end. Then I heard his breathless voice, "Am I better than him?" "Better," she replied with a laugh. "Tomorrow, I'll meet up with you at work. We'll have time before he arrives." "It's risky at work," she tried to argue. But he gently slapped her cheek and declared, "I'll decide when and where. You're mine now." It all felt strange. I was deeply hurt and somehow ashamed. I began packing up her clothes from the closet. About an hour later, I loaded 3 boxes and a bag of her belongings into my car and dropped them off at her parents' house. I left them at the doorstep, rang the bell, and quickly retreated to a safe distance. As her surprised father discovered the items, I hurried back home. I took out the bottle of gin she had given me months ago, untouched, and was about to open it when a mischievous idea struck me suddenly. Keith would wear a smug grin on his face at work in the morning, hoping I wouldn't publicly admit to becoming a cuckold or pick a fight with him. He'd likely boast about his conquest to some of his coworkers, maybe even sharing the video. Behind my back, there would be whispers and chuckles from those he showed the evidence to and those enjoying the gossip. So, what were my options? Should I quit and leave town? But I had a plan brewing in my mind. I switched off my phone, silenced the doorbell, shut the door, and went to bed with makeshift earplugs. I didn't hear her knocking or her screams when she returned. I didn't even know how long she tried to get into the apartment. Later, the neighbors informed me that her hysterics lasted over an hour before she left. I didn't care where she spent the night. The next morning, I parked my car a block away, just in case, and headed to work with a paper bag in hand. I ran into Keith in the hallway, surrounded by coworkers. They eyed me with curiosity, some mockingly, some sympathetically, but all curious. And I played my part, Keith, I said, trying to appear genuinely grateful, thanks for helping me out. This is for you. Enjoy it. You can even share it with my ex. I pulled out a bottle from the bag, smiling broadly. And don't worry, it's not from our store. I brought it from home. Everyone can vouch for it, Keith. Honestly, I've been debating breaking up with her for a while, but guilt held me back. How could I? She hadn't given me a reason. When I noticed you flirting with her, I pretended not to see, fearing I'd scare you off. I worried you wouldn't help with my plan. But you did great. You really did. What? His eyes snapped shut. What plan are you talking about? Well, I feigned surprise, you really didn't figure it out. Are you that, clueless? I opted for a milder term. You didn't realize why I didn't intervene in your affair. Keith, honey, I've wanted to end things with her for ages. You know that, right? She was out of my league, you know. We were together, but I felt like Michael Jordan playing against a backyard team. I wanted to bolt. But I didn't want to seem like a jerk. Not to her or anyone around me. Even here, all of you, I glanced at the bystanders, would think poorly of me. But now I have the perfect reason to break up, and I've already done it. And you helped me, I addressed the eager audience. Did you all hear that? I'm ending things because she cheated. And nobody better label me as anything else. I'm not ditching her for no reason. Laughter erupted, and the girls began discussing the situation. I noticed Keith's friend beside him holding his phone, displaying the video Keith sent me yesterday. Oh, by the way, I interjected, did everyone see the video? Let me have a look. I took Jack's phone, feeling a rush of excitement. He willingly handed it over. You've got to see this. My hands trembled with anticipation. As I clicked the icon, my fingers weren't very steady. I inadvertently highlighted multiple files and selected Send to all contacts from the menu that popped up. Now, I stalled, watching the loading circle spin. Almost there. Oops, clicked the wrong thing, I said. There we go, and I hit play. Poor Keith. His triumph turned into a debacle in just a minute. Furthermore, after my action, I realized other videos had been sent to all of Keith's contacts along with the one showing my ex-fiancée. And who knows what those contained. I held Keith's phone, displaying the video to everyone, and they were all transfixed when I heard several gasps almost simultaneously. Did you send the video to all your contacts? One of the salesgirls exclaimed in horror, staring at her phone. All of them, including my husband, another girl lamented. And mine, exclaimed the 5 girls a minute later, hurling curses at me and Keith. It all clicked. In Keith's cloud folder, there were other videos similar to the one playing, featuring his other conquests, including married ones. Keith turned out to be quite the player, not missing a chance with any skirt. What's more, due to the nature of his job, he had contacts for almost all the store's employees and even some of their family members. At that moment, those family members could be watching the videos, unpleasantly surprised to learn something new about their wives and daughters. Even if not everyone had seen the videos. There would surely be someone to spread the word. I didn't see my ex until around lunchtime. She looked pale, her eyes red. When our eyes met, I sensed horror, not directed at me, but at the situation. Everyone avoided her. Only a couple of women, who were upset about the videos sent to their husbands, spoke to her briefly. The next day, Keith didn't show up for work. By lunchtime, rumors circulated that he'd been badly beaten by some thugs and might not return to work for a while. Broken limbs take time to heal. Several saleswomen came to work with heavy makeup, but it couldn't conceal the deep sadness in their eyes, accentuated by dark circles underneath. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please subscribe to the channel for new stories.